Hi, Justin. How's it going?
Good. I'm a big fan of your site.
Oh, you know of our site?
Oh yeah, I used to be a publicist. So
That's right. You used to be a publicist for.
I was at Focus, Paramount, Sony. I've been around.
Yeah. So, just out of curiosity, what made you all of a sudden go on this side of the?
Well, for me, it wasn't all of a sudden. The first draft of this script came in 2006, and I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker when I was 9. So for me, it's been a long, arduous journey. But I found a career and very happy to have found a niche being a publicist and a marketing person. But one day I just couldn't sit on this story anymore, and I just felt like this is the first movie I want to make. This is the one, and I just sort of decided to do it.
So where did you come up with this idea out of the blue?
The idea came in stages. I've always sort of been, even when I grew up in Houston, I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, but I was sort of bused to a predominantly white elementary school, on through college where I was one of very few black people on my campus. And so this idea of like, I'm black, but I'm sort of toggling my identity between these different groups of people, that was always my black experience. And I thought it was really odd because it's so common, and so many of my black friends and peers have had that same experience, and no movie was really talking about that. And I also really mourned the loss of black movies that talked about stuff like that. The Black Smart House kind of died out in the early 90s. Those are the films that I was watching in film school but not seeing in theaters, and I wanted to sort of do my part in maybe bringing that back.
Now, it brings up some of the more racially themes, such as the parties or even like the newspaper. But you didn't really experience these things. You just pulled it out of the headlines yourself.
Yeah, I mean, actually, particularly with the blackface party, that was something that was in the screenplay that I thought was, I was being outrageous and I was, being shocking for the sake of shocking, and I actually took it out. And then I saw it happened, made national news on a college campus, and I started to research them and find out how predominant they were and how prevalent they were. Excuse me. And it sort of was a really convenient way as a storyteller to say what I was saying in something that happens, frankly, all the time, and that lots of people experience.
Now, why do you suppose these people in college? I mean, granted, we're at the 21st century now. Why do you think they were still doing all this stuff?
I don't think it really comes from a place of people trying to make other people feel bad. I just think that the experience of the other for some groups of people is so foreign that they can't imagine how this in any way, shape, or form would hurt them. I think as we sort of are becoming more of a society where people of different races are hanging out together and mixing up, we're sort of trying to figure out how to talk about these things, but we don't know how, and unfortunately it has some pretty awkward and sometimes offensive consequences. But even that is, even when these things make national headlines, and at least it gets people talking about it, and people who genuinely don't know why it's offensive, very quickly learn and find out why.
So which directors are you using, because this is your first feature film, which directors are you using to basically influence you then?
Gosh, I mean, I think Stanley Kubrick is probably, my biggest influence. That's not probably a surprise from a filmmaker, in my generation, but, Kubrick and Bergman and Bob Fosse, of course, every black filmmaker, including myself, bows down at the feet of Spike Lee, and P.T. Anderson, Wes Anderson, the auteurs, man. Those are the guys that I love and look up to and watch their films over and over again.
Now, do you think the industry is that diverse? I mean, there's not a lot of black films, but as of lately, they're starting to roll back up again.
Well, I mean, these things come in phases. There's always the blackest year on record. That happens every 5 or 6 years. I think it's more so about, though, it has to be the diversity of stories, because if all of the black stories out there are either civil rights, slavery, the hardships of being black, or they're, bright, rosy, sunny romantic comedies, there's a lot of versions of the experience that are sort of getting left out of that equation. But yeah, I mean, not even just with black folks, Latinos, women, gays, the stories that the culture, has out there does not really reflect the actual audience, does not really actually reflect America. And yeah, that's something we all got to really work on, I think.
Okay, one last question. Everyone is talking about you like you're the next big black thing here. So what are what is your upcoming projects from now on after this?
Hey! Sorry, I had to say hi. There's a few things going on, man. There's a couple things in the world of TV. There's a couple films that I did not write that are very exciting, and one that I have written that I'm very excited about. And it's full steam ahead on everything, and whichever one happens first, that's going to be the next one. So as soon as I can talk about it, I will.